I don't got nobody.
Grandmasters, Collision Band, Small X Band, New Vibes Band International, Mr. Bagdal, Akai You Sweet, Preedy, Guess the Band, Ricardo Drew, Patrice Roberts, Skinny Fabulous, Nyla Blackman, Status, Erica Edwards, 313 Family, Gramps Morgan, Nitra B, Ear Supply, Dexter Daps, and Burner Boy. It's the 25th edition of the St. Kitts Music Festival from June 22nd to June 24th at Warner Park. An experience like no other. Tickets are now available at stkittsmusicfestival.com.
A message from Dr. Kelia Cannonier.
I saw a mother who asked, "Should I get my little boy immunized?" I told her yes. St. Kitts and Nevis has had an impressive childhood immunization history. Our borders are open to all kinds of childhood diseases. Today, you have a choice whether your child gets vaccinated. Use it wisely.
Check your doctor or the Ministry of Health to get the information on immunization against childhood diseases, including HPV and polio, and COVID-19 vaccine for elderly persons and persons living with non-communicable diseases.
I want to be protected.
This is a message from the Ministry of Health and PAHO in partnership with the governments of Canada and Germany.
Good morning to everyone. Welcome back to Policing with You. This morning I am your host, Charmaine Odein. With me I have a lovely lady from the NEMA, and she's going to introduce herself to us and tell us a bit about herself and how long she has been at NEMA.
Hi, good morning. My name is Rika Lanon Petty. I am the acting deputy at the National Emergency Management Agency. I have been at NEMA for about 4 years now.
Okay.
So I'm young in the, you could say, the whole thing.
That's okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Miss Petty. What does NEMA means? Tell our listening and viewing audience, what does NEMA means?
Okay, so NEMA is the National Emergency Management Agency. We are responsible for managing disaster risk reduction for any hazard that may potentially impact St. Kitts and Nevis, as we are the federal office, and of course there's an office in Nevis, the Nevis Disaster Management Department, which is the local disaster office on Nevis.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. What generally happens at NEMA?
What generally happens in terms of the day-to-day?
Yes.
Okay, so day-to-day we are always in preparedness mode. Basically, we function around the disaster cycle, which is mitigation, preparedness, response, recovery / rehabilitation.
Okay.
And so pre-impact or during peace times, as we say, we try as much as possible to address any issues that could potentially harm or mitigate against any issues that could arise. For example, we've continually partnered with our stakeholders to ensure that we are kept ready to respond.
Okay.
In a nutshell.
Okay, great. The hurricane seasons mean for a lot of us is a nervous season. What does it mean at NEMA? Does it mean for you and your team?
For us, it's because the hurricane season is an annual thing. We know that the hurricane season is from June to November. As I said, we are in preparedness mode all year round. It's no different for the hurricane season. We just ensure that we ensure that our stakeholders are also ready, because maybe I should have mentioned this first. NEMA serves as the secretariat to the Mitigation Council.
Okay.
The Mitigation Council is the executive bodies, for example, the Prime Minister, as well as all permanent secretaries of the different ministries.
Okay.
The Prime Minister, of course, is the head of the Mitigation Council. Sometimes he delegates the task to another minister.
Okay.
So, because we are the secretariat, there are 10 national disaster subcommittees as ruled by our national disaster plan. And these 10 national disaster subcommittees are headed by heads of departments or permanent secretaries.
Okay.
And so NEMA, along with those national disaster subcommittees, in terms of hurricane preparedness, what we do is we ensure that each committee, because each committee is responsible for a different area, we ensure that they continually prepare and get ready for the hurricane season throughout. We continually meet with them as well, just to make sure that we are kept abreast. And because sometimes when you don't meet, sometimes it falls along the way, so we always make sure that we are in constant contact with them.
How often do you meet?
How often do we meet? Try to meet every quarter.
Okay.
Along with meeting, we also reach out to them. We do communication exercises with them as well, because in a emergency situation, timing in response is everything. We also at NEMA, for the hurricane season, we make sure that we do our regular trainings and make sure that our stakeholders are exposed to those training opportunities as well.
Great. Okay, so during the 6 months from June to November, may spill over to December of the hurricane season, what does the team at NEMA do on a daily basis?
What we do on a daily basis, basically what we do almost every day. As I said, we continue to prepare for the hurricane season. We ensure that, for example, that the subcommittee responsible for housing and shelter, we ensure that they carry out their inspections in a timely manner so that the report can be sent in. They have already started doing that. I think they would have completed the last district, because we use districts as like police use zones, we use districts. So they would have completed their last district, I think it was last week, and so they are putting together the report in terms of which shelter may need repairs, which shelters are ready, if there are any new shelters added to the list, the capacity of the shelters, and so once they have done that report, we send it with the recommendations that they send it, such and such be an emergency shelter, then we send it to cabinet. Once cabinet approves, it becomes a list for the current year until there's a new list. So whichever list was last approved is the list until a new list is approved.
Okay. And that's all depends on the inspection that is going on.
Yes, there's a process. I think some persons may not realize it. They may just assume that whatever is on the list continues to be on the list, but there's actually a process involved in selecting an emergency shelter, and we do that yearly. That's one of our activities that we do before the start of the hurricane season.
Okay. What are some of the equipment used in hurricane preparedness?
For hurricane preparedness, it depends. It depends on what activity we're doing. For example, the damage assessment National Disaster Subcommittee, they go out and inspect and assess the drains and the waterways and the guts. So for them, their equipment would be heavy equipment if they are doing clearance of some of the guts, because what they do is they make sure that they are cleared of debris and anything that could possibly block the gut. They also, clear the culverts and stuff, because when during heavy rainfall you don't want them to be blocked, because then it could cause an overflow. So for them, the heavy equipment. For us at NEMA, we test our communication equipment, our response equipment in the warehouse. So it depends. As I said, it depends on what activity exactly we're carrying on, because there's so many different equipment, so many electronic and otherwise.
Okay, so do you guys deal with the trees, the cutting down of the overgrown trees and stuff like that also? Or?
We partner with our stakeholders. Sometimes we have district managers. We have 8 districts. We use the constituency boundaries as a guideline for our districts. So each district has a district manager. And so sometimes we get reports from the district manager reporting that there's a tree in one of their districts that's a possible hazard.
Okay.
And so we collaborate with SCELEC, Parks and Beaches sometimes solid waste, environment, fire and rescue, just to name a few of the stakeholders that we partner with. So we partner with them in getting these trees cut. SCELEC especially, their interest is making sure that the trees don't interact with the lines. Right. And so they are actually a very active partner in ensuring that
I'm seeing them real
are
busy
clean.
doing that. Yes.
They are always busy.
Yes. Yes. You spoke about 8 districts. You spoke about persons out there doing inspections and stuff like that. Are these an outreach group in the community that assists, or is it voluntary workers? Tell us a bit about that.
Okay, so the district managers, they are volunteers. We so because NEMA is a small staff of 14 persons that have to cater to the entire population of St. Kitts and Nevis. You could imagine that we can't do it alone.
Yes,
and so we have a volunteer arm. The volunteer arm is called the district volunteers. So as I mentioned, each district has a district manager and an assistant manager. And within each district, there are also volunteers. What we do with the volunteers is we ensure that they are exposed to training in disaster risk reduction, in response, recovery. Any training that's available, we try and expose them as much as possible.
How often are these volunteers trained? If it depends on the upcoming season?
I wouldn't say the season. It depends on the availability of the training. We, of course, during the hurricane season, we have more trainings available than outside of the season. But however, once our training is available, we expose them. We actually have a few trainings coming up. For example, we have initial damage assessment and damage needs analysis training that is being sponsored by USAID Bureau for Humanitarian Assistance. USAID BHA has actually been a very active partner of ours. Each year they fund different training opportunities for NEMA and NDMD to ensure that we remain trained and fresh, because training has to be constant. And so we have a few trainings like those that the volunteers are not only volunteers, our stakeholders, for example police, will be involved in, because we try as much as possible to involve our stakeholders, because we want to make sure that every asset, every stakeholder of ours remain ready to respond.
Okay. How many volunteers do you have in the event that a hurricane have to hit right now? You get a warning, 24 hours there will be a hurricane. How many volunteers do you have ready on the ground right now?
It depends. Each district have a different number of volunteers. I can't give you a number off the top of my head right now, I'm sorry, but we do have a good amount. I would say about 50 something, around there.
50 plus?
Yeah.
Okay.
We will say around there, that amount.
Okay, great. And if someone wants to join your team, how do they do that? Is there something that is posted on your website or something advertised?
So you can actually just call the office. There's a volunteer registration form. You can always visit us at NEMA or call us at 466-5100, or you can speak to your district manager within your district.
And how would you know who is the district manager?
The district managers, you can find them at nema.kn, and you can also Sometimes, you just Google things. Even if you Google it, it'll actually pop up. I like to tell people that, just Google it.
Great, technology, yes. Good. No problem. Great, you have given us a handful, a mouthful, very informative information. And what are these groups expected to do if a hurricane approaches the country? What are they expected to do? What do we as the public expect from you guys?
In terms of the district managers or the public sector, the public stakeholders?
The district managers and the volunteers. Yes.
Okay, so the district managers or the district volunteers, they because they've been trained in different areas. They've been trained in shelter management, they've been trained in damage assessment, initial damage assessment. Some of them have been trained in search and rescue. We depending on the need for them, what we do is once we get an alert, once we are alerted by the Met Office that we are to be impacted by a tropical cyclone, we send out not only to the district managers but all our stakeholders as well. We usually have a mitigation council meeting or a pre-strike meeting, and we bring everyone together. We tell them the situation at hand. So now the district managers, the district volunteers, because they've been trained, they themselves would already have started to prepare to respond. So we have packages at the office for each district, and so they will come and they will collect their packages, and then they would stay in tune with NEMA. We will stay in constant contact with them. So once they get a report, because sometimes it's easier to report to a district manager that, hey, water is coming into my house. They report that to us, and we, through the district manager, assist that individual. And so the district volunteers, they are shelter managers as well, shelter volunteers. So if we have to activate shelters, for example, we call on those that have been trained in shelter management to manage those shelters. If there needs to be a initial damage assessment or a damage assessment and needs be done, we also call on our volunteers to assist with that in collaboration with the Public Works Department. And so, as I said, it depends, because the district managers, they're trained holistically, our stakeholders as well, depending on what the need is, because as I said, we have 10 national disaster subcommittees. Those 10 national disaster subcommittees have members from different departments as well.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you so much.
Each day, we see how unpredictable life can be. So let Nagico Insurances help you prepare and safeguard what matters most. We provide solid coverage you can depend on, like life insurance to provide financial security for those you love, medical that covers dental, vision, and preventative care, and auto insurance with comprehensive coverage so you can drive with confidence. For all your insurance needs, visit us at Nagico.com. Nagico Insurances, fast, fair, and always there.
Looking for the best price on your third-party insurance? Well, look no more. The Insurance Company of the West Indies, ICWI, has the best protection at the best price with no deductible. Only at ICWI, third-party plus insurance features benefits include windscreen cover and accident forgiveness. What are you waiting for? Click now, ICWI.com, or call 465-8753. Visit us today at 1 Seabird Rock in Bastille or Heritage Plaza, Main Street, Charlestown, Nevis.
What has you so happy? My home internet just got upgraded, and I didn't even have to pay for it. What? Which network you have? Flow. Now I can get the fastest fiber internet in St. Kitts and Nevis for the lowest price.
Fastest internet for the lowest price? What's the catch?
No catch, my friend. 100 megabits per second for just $135 a month. With Flow, you truly get the best internet experience around.
Switch to Flow for the fastest fiber internet at the lowest price. Visit a Flow store today. Conditions apply.
CFBC Jenkins Limited Leadership Program presents Leaders Celebrating Leaders, a 10th anniversary celebration cocktail and award ceremony happening on May 27th at the Government House at 5:30 p.m. Admission is only $175 EC, and it's the black tie affair. You can get your tickets from Jenkins Limited at the corner of Swat and K on Street, Bastille, 465-2385, or Plush Eatery, K on Street, 663-3132. CFBC Jenkins Limited Leadership Program presents Leaders Celebrating Leaders, a 10th anniversary celebration cocktail and award ceremony. Proceeds in aid of Icons Park Extension.
Welcome back to Policing with You. Jigger, is there any calls? Okay, we don't have any calls as yet, so we'll continue speaking and dialoguing and educating the public as to what you do on a daily basis in order to prepare us for our hurricane season. You spoke about the National Disaster Committee and that there are 10 of them. Could you list them?
Okay, let me test my memory.
Great, okay.
So let me test it right now. Okay, so we have a Foreign Assistance Subcommittee that is headed, of course, by the PS of Foreign Affairs. Damage Assessment and Recovery, that is headed by the Public Works Department. We have Utilities, that is headed by the Public Infrastructure, the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. Transport, that is split. No, it has been split now between international transport being with tourism and ground transport being with public infrastructure. We have welfare, relief supplies and shelter management, that is led by Social Services. Shelter Inspection Subcommittee, that is led by the ministry that is responsible for housing. We have Education, Communication and Early Warning, that's SKNIS. I have 3 more to go. So we have we have Public Health, that is of course led by the Ministry of Health. And you see there's 2 more now. Let's see how good. Environment, of course, that is led by Environment. And then last but not least, which one am I forgetting now? Let's see. We have sorry, as I said, it's a lot to remember off the top of my head. Which one was it that I missed in my mention of the subcommittees? I can't remember. I said damage assessment and recovery, utilities, transport, welfare, early warning, shelter. I think I've named them. I think I named them. I think I just miscounted. So yes, so we have those 10 national disaster subcommittees, and as I said, they are led by either the director or the permanent secretary of the relevant subcommittee.
Okay, great.
Oh, sorry, search, rescue, and initial clearance. That's the one I'm forgetting. And you should be disappointed.
I was wondering, where does the police and fire rescue comes in? I said,
yeah, so that's the one. I think that should have been the first one I said.
Seen it, I'm in my uniform. Okay, got you. Okay. If the Med Office stated that we are going to be impacted tomorrow, what is the protocol NEMA have put in place?
Okay, so if the Met Office says that we are going to be impacted tomorrow,
yes.
we organize a pre-strike meeting. The pre-strike meeting would have the members of the mitigation council. That would be heads of department, the executive body. As I said, it's head by the Prime Minister. The chairs of the National Disaster Subcommittees. We also invite telecommunication as well as media. ZIZ is also one of the members, as well as other media houses, because communication, of course, is important.
Yes, it is.
And so what we do at that meeting is we report on the situation at hand, what's expected, when we are expected to impact, we may be impacted, and then we get a chance to hear from the members of the Mitigation Council, particularly the ones responsible for response. Because at the time we need to know what the situation is with their department, what are their capabilities and what's lacking, so that we know what we're responding with, what we have available on hand. And so after that meeting, then we make a decision based on recommendations, and the Mitigation Council head would recommend whether or not we need to activate the National Emergency Operations Center, the NEOC, which is at NEMA. Once that is activated, then the necessary stakeholders, those that have to actually stay at NEMA, they go back. They go back home. They go back, and they come back at NEMA, and we write out the storm together. We once the NEOC is activated, it is manned 24/7 until the activation. And so you would see sometimes in the media that the NEOC has been activated, and then you would see for anything you call those numbers, because basically we manage the situation from there. So in the NEOC, police would be in the NEOC, for example. SCELEC would be in the NEOC, and other members of the National Disaster Subcommittee that I just mentioned, they will be in the NEOC. And if we get a call, for example, on a report from a specific area, it goes to the commander or the director of the NEOC, and then it is given to the relevant stakeholder to address.
Okay. Wow. Can you identify the number of shelters that you have ready at hand?
Shelters ready at hand. We like to say emergency shelters, and some persons say hurricane shelters, but we operate on the basis that a shelter may be needed year round and not just during the hurricane season. So as I mentioned before, whichever list was last approved by cabinet is the list that stands until a new list has been approved by cabinet. So right now we're using the list that was last approved last year. In terms of the number of shelters, I can't say off the top of my head the number of shelters. We have different numbers in different. Some districts have more shelters because of what else resources are available in their shelters. But we try as much as possible, and it's a hard task. Getting shelters, it's a challenge. I think not only that's unique to the Federation, but it's common amongst regional as well as international agencies where it's hard to. The availability of shelters is one of the biggest challenges, I think, in disaster management. But we try our best to select shelters in each district, and we look at the size of the district as well when we are doing that.
How do we identify the shelters?
How do we identify the shelters? Okay, so for it to be a shelter, we don't use schools as shelters anymore. The reason why we don't use schools is because once the threat has passed and the shelter has been deactivated, sometimes it's a challenge if that person has nowhere to go. Where do we put them? And so sometimes it's a challenge getting them out or relocating them. We saw that a prime example of that in St. Vincent and Grenadines during the impact of the volcanic eruption, where they had trouble getting persons out of the shelters after they were told it was safe to go back to their respective homes. And so we try our best to avoid using schools as shelters. So what we use community centers, of course, as well as some churches offer their buildings to be shelters. So both private and public buildings are used.
Good. I'm gonna jump a bit and ask, how long after an impact does NEMA take start to really relief communications?
Start relief supplies?
Yeah. How long after?
It depends on the level of impact.
Relief communication.
Relief communication. Relief communication or relief supplies?
Supplies.
Supplies. You mean in response to welfare?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a welfare relief supply and shelter management subcommittee that's headed by social services. They are responsible for providing welfare to citizens and residents after an impact. In terms of how long after, it depends on the level of impact, how many persons are impacted. But that subcommittee, they actually have MOUs with the food providers on island, and so they are able to tap into those resources once it's needed.
Okay, great. So it all depends on
yes.
the impact and the amount of persons that
impacted.
Needs these.
But what we do say to persons when they are preparing in the disaster preparedness kits, we always encourage persons to have at least 3 days worth of food, because you do not know how long you're going to it's going to take to get relief supplies. So we encourage persons always 3 days worth of food, 3 days worth of water. A good guideline for the water is a gallon per person within your household. So if you have per day. So if you have 5 persons in your house, for example, you're looking at 5 gallons per day. So that's 15 gallons you have to store.
Okay, thank you so much for that. A disaster means you need serious communication and technology equipment. Okay, what does the role of technology plays before, after, and during a disaster?
Okay, so technology, of course, is very important. At NEMA, we have some communication equipment that we regularly keep charged and ready. We have a satellite communication, and some of our stakeholders will have satellite phones, so we would have access to those if necessary. But of course, satellite communication depends on the weather condition of the day. So so that one's a bit tricky. We also have radio communication if other communications go down. We have a WinLink system. It was just recently installed last year. WinLink basically allows us to communicate via messaging if the internet service goes down. The technological aspect of that I can't go into much because I myself am baffled by how exactly it works. But however, it is the last resort in terms of if everything goes down, we are able to communicate outside of St. Kitts using the WinLink system. We also, along with the radios and stuff, we have partners with the different media houses, ZIZ, the cable, Win FM, and other radio stations. So they as well carry the messages of NEMA. And so what we try to do at the agency, we try to have multiple ways of communicating with the public. And we, especially during the hurricane season, what we along with CDEMA, which is the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, we regularly test the radio communication to ensure that that channel is always flowing. And so our technician at NEMA, he would weekly run the tests and report that, okay, so there's a list so that we can identify any challenges that we may have faced during the test, so we can know how to address them.
How far that signal goes to,
It depends. With radio communications, so it always depends on the atmospheric conditions and stuff.
The weather.
So yes, but for the CDEMA test, we communicate with another officer in Barbados.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Did you get any calls? No? Okay. Caller, you're on the air. We lost that caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Good morning, Officer Odin. How are you doing?
I'm good, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm here listening, with, interest as the lady speaks about the importance of communication and collaboration with agencies that can assist or provide communication. And I distinctly didn't hear any emphasis being placed on the link with the St. Kitts Nevis Amateur Radio Society in situations of this nature. And it concerns me because she said as the last mode of communication, the wind link. But we know that ham radio operates in all and every circumstance and situation. All we need is a car battery. Yes. So we're not dependent on electricity. We're not dependent on anything.
Right.
And I was a little concerned by the absence of her statements which relate to the collaboration, the frequent collaboration with the St. Kitts Nevis Amateur Radio Society. So I'm hopeful that she'd perhaps correct that if it is considered important, if it is. And if it's not, then I will understand, and perhaps we can, move our collaboration elsewhere. But we generally and at all times collaborate with Nemo, and she, I don't know if she's new in the business, but she would know that Victor 44 Kilo Bravo Whiskey, Mr. Basil Woods, who is frequently there, and a representative of the Ham Radio Society, along with all of us who in the background do what it'll do to assist. So I'm hopeful that she may want to maybe say a sentence or two. It will make us feel good and sleep good tonight.
Caller, thank you so much for that observation. I guess it was just oversight, so she'll...
I was actually going to... He actually preempted me because what I was going to say is another one of our partners, and we partner with them regularly, is the Ham Radio Society, as he mentioned, Mr. Basil Woods and others. We once activated, of course. We also have them in the NAOC, in the radio room of the NAOC with us to operate our radios. We also have done training with the Ham Radio Society where they would have offered basic radio communication, and we are hoping that we repeat and do a follow-up to that exercise this year.
Great, thank you so much.
So caller, I apologize if I didn't say it earlier, but of course the Ham Radio Society is a very important and valuable partner.
Okay. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello, morning.
Morning.
Tell the lady she sounds good. She must keep it up. Have a good day.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Caller, you're on the air.
Hello, Sergeant Henry. I just called to say hello to you. That's Sergeant Henry on the air?
No, this is Sergeant Odin.
Oh. What happened to Inspector, the lady Inspector used to host the show?
The lady, I beg your pardon? I didn't hear that clearly.
The lady Inspector used to host the show. I can't remember her name.
Inspector Edwards?
No, it's a woman inspector.
Yeah, she's an inspector. She's
still an inspector?
She's also one of the hosts, if that is the person you're speaking about.
Oh, but I don't see her on the air anymore. She used to host the show many, many times.
Okay, thank you. I don't know.
I don't remember her name.
Okay.
But when you see the promo, you see her picture as one of the hosts.
The superintendent, Superintendent Mills?
Mills, yeah.
Right. Yeah, she's also one of our hosts.
Oh, she's still in the post?
Yes, she is, so.
Oh, because I didn't see her in a couple of months. Okay.
Okay.
Y'all have a good weekend in the Federation.
Thank you. You too, sir.
Good call from New York City, and take care. I want to see a woman commissioner in my lifetime.
Okay, sir. Thank you for that. Okay. Okay, as we wrap up, I want you to tell us the different ways in which we can reach NEMA. And if you have I think you mentioned that you have a hotline earlier. So just remind us again of the different ways that we can reach. And if you have any tips to leave us with.
Okay. So in peacetime, which we are in right now, you can call the office at 466-5100. Once we activate, we usually activate different numbers and we publicize those. You can also reach us on Facebook at NEMA SKN, and you can visit our website at nema.kn.
Okay. You don't have any WhatsApp number or anything?
We have the 466-5100 is also a WhatsAppable number, so if you add it to your contacts and you send us a message, we'll get it.
Okay, great.
In terms of tips, the hurricane season is less than a month away, as it starts June 1st. So of course I would like to encourage at this time everyone to start their hurricane preparedness activities. You know, make sure that your home is ready. You go around, make sure that there are not any possible flying projectiles within your yard. Make sure that your trees within your yard are trimmed. You inspect your roof, your property. Also, you do internal preparations as well for your family plan. Make sure that you have your hurricane preparedness kit ready. If you had one from last year, you check it to make sure that the contents are still in good condition. And so, of course, as well, I would like to say to keep in contact with us. You know, we are always on Facebook as well, NEMA SKN. Listen to the relevant authorities, because I know that sometimes we have an issue with overnight meteorologists, as our Met officer likes to call them, and we would like to discourage that and encourage persons to listen to the relevant authorities on that matter.
That is so important, because you know now people are using social media to do all kind of disturbing things and distract you. So that is very important to encourage the listening and viewing audience to listen to the relevant personnel. What about, I remember we used to hear about put our documents in blocks.
That's part of the hurricane preparedness kit. The hurricane preparedness kit would contain your important documents in a waterproof container. It could be a Ziploc bag, it could be something else that's waterproof. We also encourage that you have some cash on hand, because sometimes, you know, systems go down after an impact. Non-perishable food, water enough for 3 days, as well as with the food, medication, especially if you know you have a prescription medication that you need to take every day. We encourage persons to have an extra of that on hand. Sometimes as well, we also encourage persons to cater their kit to the needs of their family. For example, if they have a baby, adding stuff that you know the baby would need. If you have someone with special need, you provide for that person within your kit as well. I will encourage that you use the 3-day marker. If you want to do more, that's fine with you, but we encourage that you use a 3-day guideline for when you're preparing your kit.
Is there any example of all of this on your website that persons can visit and see?
Yes, you can visit our website and check out the hurricane preparedness kit, and you can also call us, or you can, of course, research us.
Yes, thank you so much for accepting the invitation, and I wish you and your team all the best for the upcoming season. Well, for me, what it popped out at me is that you prepare all year round for any form of national disaster, and that is very important. So again, thank you. Jiki, I want to thank you for having me on again. I want to thank the Almighty God for giving us the time here, and you, the listening and viewing audience, for having us here with you. Thank you guys, and all the best.
What you know about love?
2 minutes moving up to the hour. Please do stand by. We're going to take